Hello and welcome. This is Jub with some World of Warship legends. Today I want to talk about the Tier 2 premium ship, the Campbelltown, that all players can receive upon completion of the Bureau introduction. The Campbelltown has 3x1 102mm cannon, the HE of 1500 and an AP of 1700, which is adequate in damage, though low in the number of guns for the tier. It makes up with its torpedo reload time of 54 seconds and a maximum damage of almost 12k, which is more than many other ships at the Tier 2 class. The torpedo range is 7.5 and its speed is 61 knots, which makes them both long range and fast torpedoes. Its maneuverability is adequate. It has a maximum speed of 35 knots, which is fast for a ship at this level. It has a turning circle of just over half a kilometre and a rudder shift time of 2.7, which is extremely quick. Due to its passive ability of hidden, its sequential launches, and more than adequate torpedoes, I consider this an apt torpedo boat, though lacking in main battery power, though they are serviceable if used from the right range and using the correct ammunition against the target at hand. When choosing a captain, you really have two choices, Reginald Tyrwhitt or Philip Vane. I decided that Reginald Tyrwhitt was better for my playstyle. I definitely consider this worthy of a berth in the port of any competent captain. While we look at a little bit of footage of the gameplay, I would like to talk about the history of this heroic and wonderful ship and crew. The USS Buchanan was a Wickes-class destroyer ordered from the Bath Iron Works in Bath, Maine. She was laid down on the 29th of June 1918. She launched on the 2nd of January 1919 and was commissioned into the Navy on the 20th of that month. In 1948, after the finalisation of the Destroyers for Base Agreement, she was transferred and commissioned in Halifax, Canada as the HMAS Campbelltown. She saw 4 years of hard work as an escort before taking damage and retiring to Devonport to undergo repairs. The Campbelltown began the Devonport repairs in January. During this time, she was selected for a special operation and was withdrawn from regular service for modification. She was used in Operation Chariot, which was the planned assault on the docks at St-Nazaire. In 1942, the German battleship Tirpitz, anchored off of Norway, was considered to be a present and grave threat to the Atlantic convoys. Should the Tirpitz enter the Atlantic, the St-Nazaire dry dock, which had been originally built for the liner, the SS Normandy, was a vital target. It was the only German-held dry dock on the European coast of the Atlantic that was large enough to service the battleship. If this dry dock could be put out of action, any offensive sortie by the Tirpitz in the Atlantic would be much more dangerous for the Kriegsmarine to carry out, making it less likely that they would risk deploying her. Operation Chariot was a plan to ram an explosive-laden warship into the dock gates. Accompanying her would be a number of small boats carrying British commandos, who would destroy the dock's pumping and winding machinery and other infrastructure. The troops would then be evacuated by small boats before the explosives in the ship detonated. A particular difficulty was that the dock was located several miles up the estuary of a river. As an obsolete destroyer, Campbelltown was considered to be expendable, and she was selected to be the ram ship. She spent February undergoing modifications. These included removing her third and fourth funnels, having the two remaining funnels raked to simulate that of the appearance of a German ship. A 12-pounder gun was installed forward, and 8 20mm anti-aircraft cannon were mounted in the upper deck. Some extra armour was provided to protect the bridge structure, and unnecessary stores and equipment were removed to lighten the load. The crew, which would be evacuated with the commandos, was reduced to 75 men under the command of Stephen Beatty. A flotilla of 21 vessels, including the Campbelltown, 16 motor launchers, 1 motor torpedo boat and a motor gunboat, acting as the troops' headquarters, left Falmouth at 1400 on the 22nd of March 1942, escorted for most of the crossing to France by 2 Hunt-class escort destroyers, apart from a brief clash with a German submarine, U-593, whose captain misreported the task force's course and composition. The ships reached France unmolested. 1 motor launch suffered mechanical problems and had to return to England. A preliminary air raid carried out through heavy cloud was ineffective, merely alerting the defenders that something unusual was happening. Nevertheless, by flashing genuine German recognition signals, the force, with the Campbelltown flying the flag of the Kriegsmarine, approached within 1.6 kilometres of the harbour before being fired upon. The Campbelltown, as the largest target, drew the most fire. During the final approach, the crew of the Campbelltown lowered the emblem of the Kriegsmarine and hoisted the fighting ensign of the Royal Navy. At precisely 01:34 on the 28th of March, 4 minutes later than planned, the Campbelltown rammed the dock gate. The commandos and ship's crew came ashore under heavy German fire and set about demolishing the dock machinery. Out of 611 men, 169 of the raiders fell in the ensuing conflict. Out of the 611 men in the attacking forces, of the survivors, 215 were captured and 222 were evacuated by the surviving small craft. A further 5 evaded capture and travelled overland through France to Spain and then to Gibraltar, at that time a British territory. The charges in the Campbelltown exploded at noon, an hour and a half later than the British had expected. Although the ship had been searched by the Germans, the explosives had not been detected. The explosion killed around 250 German soldiers and French civilians, and it demolished both the front half of the destroyer and the gates to the dry dock. With the rush of water into the dry dock washing the remains of the ship into it, the St-Nazaire dry dock was rendered unusable for the rest of the war, and it was not repaired fully until 1947. Delayed action torpedoes fired by the motor torpedo boat into the outer gate lock to the submarine basin detonated, as planned, on the night of the 30th of March. This later explosion led to panic with the German forces, firing on French civilians and on each other. 16 French civilians were killed and around 30 were wounded. Later, 1,500 civilians were arrested and interned in the camp at St-Nazaire, as most of their houses were demolished, even though they had nothing to do with the raid. Lieutenant Commander Beatty, who was taken prisoner, received the Victoria Cross for his valour, and in 1947 received the French Legion d'Honneur. His Victoria Cross was one of 5 that was awarded to the participants in the raid, along with 80 other military decorations. The ship's bell of the HMS Campbelltown was given to the town Campbelltown, Pennsylvania, as a gesture of appreciation towards the United States for the destroyers for Base's agreement program. The ship's bell was later lent by the town to the subsequent HMS Campbelltown, a Type 22 frigate, where she was commissioned in 1989 and was returned on the 21st of June 2011 after the HMS Campbelltown was decommissioned. This really is a story of bravery and courage against insurmountable odds. The Campbelltown is such a great ship, both in history and in World of Warships legend. I hope that the next time that you're looking for a ship to play, that the plucky British ship, the Campbelltown, is the next on your list. If you enjoyed hearing about the history of the Campbelltown, hit that like button. If you've got anything to say, put it in the comments below. And if you'd like to be updated when I do my next video, hit that subscribe button. This has been Jub, and I'll catch you next time.